The K-Jazz Show, Sundays on Kofifi FM 97.2.
Well, welcome to the second hour of our weekly Our Africa feature, where we sit with the music for Africans by Africans. And this morning isn't really about celebrating an award. It is about witnessing what happens when faith refuses to rush itself. And for over a year, we've watched Ingoma Busuku find its audience, not through noise, but through patience, through spirit, through listeners who heard something ancient inside something completely new. And the project carries the weight of national recognition, international collaboration, and one of the most beautiful artistic journeys we've had the privilege of following here on the K-Jazz Show. And sitting across from me is not just one of South Africa's young finest vocalists. He's a family here on the show. And I want to take a moment to say, welcome home, Paras Sibalukhulu Dlamini.
Mongabole umakhelwane yema uzothola inkinga ungcono mnane mongabole umakhelwane yema uzokulunguza ngamaweni we ungcono mnane ufike impule ungcono msiselo umakhelwane umakhelwane wakho angabona umakhelwane wakho ungona umnanele uma ngabe uyambolekise la abamona lisa laba abamona lisa amahlafu megwavube
Greetings, good morning, Absheni, Molweni, Sanbone, South Africa, to all the listeners of Kofifi FM, and to all the listeners of Ngwako Malagalaga's session or seminar or show.
Or sermon. You can call it a sermon. For 3 hours, we sit within the music of jazz. And this is why we gather this Sunday, Paras, welcome to the show, by the way. And, we've been talking off air that it's been a while since you and I connected, and we were there, at the beginning of the project. And I've been wondering something when the album was released, the applause stopped, the interviews ended. And after everyone had finally called to say, Mganwami, congratulations, what was the first thing, the very first quiet thought you had when you finally took the time to reflect on this journey?
So how I reflected, okay, first and foremost, at some point I had a pause to think if this is really happening in my life, and indeed it was happening. Indeed it was happening. And while it was happening, I was full of ubonga. I was full of gratitude nje ukuthi Jehovah ungcinile. I've been pushing this far so long, and just when I thought I wasn't doing any album, any project, and then boom, you blessed me with such a project. And when it came out, the buzz, the feedback was incredible. It was so humbling. I'm just honored, man. I'm just one of the blessed creatives amongst many, because coming to think of it, this body of work came out through an independent company, Skame Music, and obviously we are coupling it with Ubuntu Music Records, so it's just 100% independency, and you can then imagine the laughs, the smiles that comes out of being independent, and the cries, the tears that we share of being independent, especially at the early stages. So, but all in all, man, I'm still stunned, namanje.
You know, you lived with these songs long before any of us did, Paras. And now that they've traveled across provinces, countries, and the listeners' lives, has Ingoma Busuku become the album you imagined, or has it quietly become something entirely different?
You know, Ingoma Busuku into ilethile mina one, it brought respect. Not that I wasn't, but when you do something when you do something that is packaged professionally, respecting the consumers' resources and time and ears, it brings about positive change in one's life. I can tell you now, when I think of Ingoma Busuku, my heart just melts, man. My thoughts around it are very much positive. I'm very much swimming in the blessings of Ingoma Busuku. So just the thought of it in Jemfowethu is such a blessing. It is such a blessing, and I attest to this on how the response has been from the consumers, from the people, from at shows, and on all the DSPs.
You know, your music, in fact, your voice doesn't simply perform, you know, Paras ama melodies. It remembers things, and your work, of course, speaks to the indigenous knowledge, ancestry, and oral traditions. I mean, how do you carry something that ancient into contemporary jazz without allowing it to become a museum music? You know, I've always found that very interesting. Let's talk about that.
You know, it's a mixture of my upbringing. In fact, it's an influence of my upbringing. The music I grew up listening to and being influenced from my uncle. He would buy CDs. There would be boxes of different genres of CDs, you know. And so, with that being said, all the music I used to listen to and grew up and being exposed to, it resonated differently. And just when upon the creation of my sound, I knew what I'm deeply in love with uGogo Busimhlongo. You know, I'm deeply in love with Uyosondo Salificator, but I'm also deeply in love with the likes of your Babyface, your Dave Hollister, you know, and also your Cat Elling, your I mean, you name them, yeah, Bolondole.
Yeah.
So, and mind you, I'm a drummer, so you can imagine what I listened to different styles, vocal music, instrumental music, you know what I mean? So that influence has really been a witness, or has really been felt in my music when I sing, because the truth is, angiphiles esikhathini sakudala, you know, and therefore, but I need to also say there are people who come from isikhathi sakudala. How do I tap into them? How do I tap into, until I come to the younger ones, you know, until I go to the younger ones as in like my the age of my daughter, which is like 6 years. Yeah, but so how do I go about that? How do I achieve that? And I asked uDokotela Dr. Nduduzo Makatsini to say, Puti, ngicela ungabi yiplangwe. Let it not be hard to receive. Let it not be hard. Let it not be weak. Let it be what it's supposed to be. Let it also represent you. Let it represent me. Let it represent everyone in the whole team. So yeah.
You see, well. You see, well. madolobe ngono ngivele phumele wanje iphumele nemakhaya sekungcono ngivele ngibuyele kwanje iphumele nemakhaya Wayengitshela ukuba mina wayengitshela ukuba ngihloniphe ihlonipho ngikhuluma ngomkhulu wami umakhulukhulu ngikhuluma ngikhuluma ngesalukazi sami unomnyaka into engibambi ngibelethe ngono ngivele phumele wanje iphumele nemakhaya sekungcono ngivele ngibuyele kwanje iphumele nemakhaya Zokhanyisa inyathu lapha inyanga nezinkanye mawumnyama zokhanyisa inyathu lapha inyanga nezinkanye mawumnyama zokhanyisa inyathu lapha inyanga nezinkanye mawumnyama zokhanyisa inyathu sengifuna ukuyobona amabhunga engcwele emakhaya ngikhuluma nomakhulukhulu ngikhuluma nombuzeni ngikhuluma nekhehla labube ngikhuluma nesalukazi sami unomnyaka isiwele wele wele isiwele
Kofi FM this Sunday for Our Africa. We're spending time with Paras Sibalukhulu Dlamini. He joins us as we take a moment, to celebrate his debut project, that is Ingoma Busuku. And that has been, in fact, nominated for the Best Newcomer at the South African Music Awards. And of course, Paras, when people hear a great album, they often, hear one artist. But here, on Ingoma Busuku, it feels like an entire community is breathing together. Let's talk about it. You touched it just briefly. Let's talk about, the travelers, rather Duduzo Makatini, Mbuso Koza, Linus Kakani, and everyone else, who shaped this record. Which part or what part of yourself did each collaborator uncover, perhaps that you did not know you had?
I can tell you now, Uguti, it wasn't as easy as it sounds recording the album. I remember day 2 recording the album. I had to, so Pundutuzo Makatini says to me, Dlamini, you will have to go and pick up at the airport. We're in Cape Town at the airport, so you have to go and pick up Mbuso Koza. He's going to be co-producing your vocals. And I'm like, huh? Where did this come from? Okay. Oh, wow, my people, my big bros are here for me. Okay, let's do it. So, only to find I cried, man. If there's 2 people that made me cry in studio or recording, it is Mbuso Koza, it is Mondli. I'll tell you why I cried. I cried because they were seeing this that they were seeing in me, which I never believed it would happen. Sometimes you are not the best candidates to judge yourself as to how can you or can you not. So they were unpacking those creative juices in a crazy way, the way I could possibly imagine. And I'm crying because I'm frustrating them, and for the first time I'm making them fight with me. They normally fight for me, but this time around they're fighting with me to say no. And but I cried because I was like, if they see this, that it means I can, then course, but I mean, let it come out. And it came out. So this album is a cross. But it touches base on almost every aspect of sound, every aspect of so it was important for me to have all of them because they represent Ubuntu as a community. And my sound is Ubuntu. I've always said I do Ubuntu music. Back 15 years ago. Now with that being said, uma ngabe complete a whole puzzle of Ubuntu, it means they brought love, put Mondli Ngcobo, brought ile ngoma, and ikhuluma ngothando, ikhuluma ngani ukuthi just throw yourself out to umuntu wakho, angina indlela yokuchaza ubuhle bakho, and uBhuti Mbuso is saying we have more ways of delivering a story without being without having our storytelling in a weaker way. It's to say ulimi lwethu is so open, it is so huge in such a way that let's play with words. Let asiteketise, and muteketisa, that's when ucupha isoka kuthiwe lensizwa le yakwamalakalaka inesoka uyakwazi ukukhuluma ibeka amagama. Uyayibona lonto le. So it was more on that, but also we had to tap into neo soul, which is Udonda is man. Pundutuzo Makatini, man, he's not of this world. He's with us. He's living with us. Ngokomzimba nangani uyakwazi futhi abuye ezekuthini, but man, that man is special. We can talk about him all day.
Yeah.
And he makes sure what he wants you to sound the way you should. And what I learned from it is perseverance, is also originality, the importance of being original and sounding as original as ever, and preserving ubuntu bakho nolimi lwakho.
No, incredible. Of course, this conversation this Sunday with Paras Sibalukhulu Dlamini, we're reflecting on the journey of Ingoma Busuku this Sunday as he joins us for Our Africa. And of course, there's a beautiful difference, Kofifi, when making your first album and becoming the person capable of making your second. So, Puti, who has Paras become, if I may ask, because of everything that has happened after Ingoma Busuku? What has changed in you?
Paras is still changing positively. I've learned to accept more who I am. I've learned to accept that which I can be able to not change. Me and Zengaleto Scats, because I'm an anxious person, but I've learned to also try and find a way of controlling that anxiety. I wanna give people what they need, but also it's not about singing only. There's quite a lot of things that happen during the week in order for you to get that platform, that booking, and to get those ears from the masses out there. So what Paras has become, man, I think we still yet to really find out more, because one thing I can tell is I've been in a mode of an ongoing rehearsal, like Uputu would say.
Yeah.
And I realized life is an ongoing rehearsal. We learn every day. We learn every day. But what I've become is I'm enjoying. What I've become so far, I'm enjoying myself. I look forward to even doing more and more of Izinto Ezinhle, and also being able to have a mandla to give back to the community, to give back to scout those creatives, to help that 1, 2, 3 children out there, young guys, young women and men, where I can possibly do so.
Jehovah Sibalukhulu Dlamini Kamala Welisa Nimhlaba wonke washo umbhalo Jehova ukhulumisana nabantwana bakho emhlabeni nasemazulwini ngcwelisani igama lakho ngiyakuba nani ngazo zonke izinsuku siyabonga sithi hallelujah Jehova ugcwele bonke obuhle nomusa nothando baba siyabonga umusa wakho washo Jalo, 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 jalo. Ubongoti. Ku Jehovah. Sithi ngcwele ngcwele. Siyabonga.
The music of Paras Sibalukhulu Dlamini on Kofifi FM 97.2. This Sunday, a project he calls Ingoma Busuku. Of course, this is the K-Jazz show. Sundays 10 all the way to 1 o'clock, South African Standard Time. And the title, Ingoma Busuku, suggests that the night itself, Paras has a voice. And if you were writing that album today, not 1 year ago, but after after everything you've experienced since, what would the night be singing now?
Man, it'll still be singing the same tune. You know what? I'll tell you why.
Tell us why.
I think this project. I'm not saying this because it's me. I normally don't listen to it. Takes for instance, I recently listened to it when I got the nominations. And again when it was a newcomer, I was like, wow, let me just go and listen to what's special about this album. And I can tell you, man, anyone who listens to it now or next year or the other year will still feel and receive the fresh sound, which means this music is timeless. And therefore, I wouldn't change anything. The night wouldn't be any different. Instead, it will be the birth of something new. Because also the album le inginikeza nami challenge, inginikeza inselelo yokuthi how is your next project going to sound like? Because when we grow up listening to projects, and we was projects, okay, this was a one-hit wonder. Okay, the project then I'm tracks out 10, but only 3 songs are nice. Okay, and not only me, I'm saying that a lot of us are saying that. And then the following project, he always works with 3 projects, with 3 tracks, and then the rest are work. But with this one, Ingoma Busuku, man, I'm telling you, it's a no-skip album. And it says to me, I need not to put myself in a pressure of trying to compare the second album with the first album. I need to move with the current feeling at that particular time of the recording of the new album.
And as we wrap up, you've performed internationally, received one of the country's highest musical honors, joined extraordinary ensembles from festival to festival, yet somehow, Paras, I feel like, you're only writing the first paragraph of your story. And I want you to take the listener on a thought, when listeners meet you again 5 years from now, what do you hope they'll discover that wasn't visible in Paras Dlamini today?
One thing I can tell is I'm a versatile musician. I'm a versatile artist. Don't be surprised when you hear me from a dance track. How Paras Sibalukhulu Dlamini on a dance track, on an Afro pop, on a gospel track, you know what I mean? Don't be surprised by that, because I'm a versatile artist, and I believe that the gift that God has blessed me with is not only to be one-sided, but nonetheless, I'm a full-time jazz musician. Me maybe jumping to other sounds in 5 years time from now, it doesn't mean I'm not a jazz musician. I represent the jazz community. I love jazz community. I love jazz, and it that's where I feel myself. That's where I feel whole and sanctified. But I know for sure that I also resonate with other cultures. Thus, I have previous music from dance, which I did, dance, piano. So, but where I am right now is where I'm sticking to.
And jazz loves you back.
You just get collaborations and I'll just be opening up my creative juices, my creativity, in a very respectful way, in a very directive way.
You know, some conversations end with applause, but others end with silence. And not because nothing more can be said, you know, Mgana, but because something important has just settled inside of us. And we've had the privilege of watching you, Paras Sibalukhulu Dlamini, grow from an artist, carrying an idea into carrying a generation's attention. Yet somehow, you know, he continues to sing with the humility of someone who's still listening. And perhaps this is why Ingoma Busuku continues to resonate. It can never be demanded, you know, to be heard. It simply invites you to listen more deeply. And I want to thank you, not only for the music, you know, but for trusting this show, you know, to walk with you alongside you know, this journey, you know, from its earliest chapters. And of course, for this Sunday, thank you for joining us.
My friend, thank you so much to all the listeners, to the executive of the station, to the producers, across all the programs and shows, especially the KJS show. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It means a lot. You know, I'm looking forward to the 14th and the 15th of August at the awards. And we are all winners. And we just need that one captain in the category. But we are all winners.
Yeah.
As the captain of the ship within that category. So I wish us all the best. I wish us Bambisane. It's all about love. These awards, they are here not to bring about sourness or jealousy, but they are here to embrace us and unite us as artists. You know, sometimes there's this stigma. So we'll see, you know, we are not Mbangweni. We need to preach that. South Africa, Sisonke. It's all about the summer 32. Thank you to everyone.
And thank you to you, you know, the beautiful unfinished story with Paras Sibalukhulu Dlamini. And he was on the KJS show.